9 signs that someone dislikes you and is hiding it. If you've ever had a gut feeling that someone doesn't like you, but you can't quite put your finger on why, you may be picking up on subtle social cues. These signals can be challenging to interpret, particularly when the other person is trying to hide their true feelings. Below are 9 signs that someone may not like you, even if they are trying to keep it under wraps. Especially noteworthy is the 9th sign. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. 1. Avoiding eye contact. Eye contact is a powerful form of communication that transcends words. It's one of the first ways we learn to connect with others from the time we're infants, and its importance remains significant throughout our lives. As we age, the nuances of eye contact often become even more pronounced. It is through a steady gaze that we express trust, openness, and understanding. A lack of eye contact, on the other hand, can create feelings of distance, discomfort, or even rejection, especially when it happens in one-on-one conversations where connection is expected. When someone dislikes you but doesn't want to openly admit it, avoiding eye contact can be a subconscious way for them to distance themselves emotionally. In situations where they feel obligated to interact with you, they might avert their gaze as a means of minimizing the personal connection. Instead of looking directly into your eyes, they might fixate on something else in the room, like a clock, a window, or their phone, anything to avoid the discomfort of engaging too closely. At its core, sustained eye contact represents vulnerability and mutual acknowledgement. It says, "I see you, and I'm engaged with you in this moment." When that's absent, it can feel as though the person is shutting you out, whether intentionally or not. You may sense a subtle disconnection, as though the person isn't fully present with you, even though they are physically near. This behavior can be especially disheartening in relationships that once thrived on close interaction. Perhaps in the past, you and this individual enjoyed lively conversations with plenty of shared glances and facial expressions that showed understanding and empathy. But now, things feel different. You might find yourself having to work harder to gain their attention, only to be met with brief glances or fleeting looks that feel dismissive. This lack of engagement can make you question the depth of the relationship and whether something has changed on a deeper level. Eye contact is also a critical tool for reading emotions. When someone avoids meeting your gaze, it deprives you of the opportunity to gauge how they are truly feeling. Are they angry, frustrated, indifferent? Without that nonverbal exchange, it can be difficult to know. In many cases, the person avoiding eye contact might be consciously or unconsciously trying to hide their true feelings, knowing that their eyes could give them away if they allowed the connection. For older adults, especially those who value meaningful, face-to-face communication, the absence of eye contact can feel particularly alienating. By the time we reach our 60s and beyond, many of us have come to rely on deep, personal exchanges as a way to foster closeness and maintain strong relationships. When eye contact is lacking, it creates a gap that words alone cannot fill. It's not just about what is said, but about the connection that eye contact symbolizes. Without it, conversations can feel flat, lacking the emotional resonance that usually makes our interactions rich and fulfilling. In group settings, the avoidance of eye contact can be even more telling. You might notice that the person who dislikes you looks freely at others, engaging in lively discussions and making frequent eye contact. But when it comes to you, they shift their focus elsewhere. This contrast can be difficult to ignore as it highlights their selective engagement. Even if they speak with you, the lack of eye contact can leave you feeling as though they're not really interested in the conversation, or worse, that they are simply going through the motions out of politeness or social obligation. It's also important to note that avoiding eye contact doesn't always indicate dislike in every context. There are other reasons why someone might not meet your gaze: shyness, anxiety, or cultural differences. All play a role in how people use eye contact in communication. However, When avoidance of eye contact becomes a consistent pattern, especially in someone who used to engage more openly, it's worth considering whether there might be underlying feelings of discomfort or negativity that they are not expressing verbally. When combined with other subtle signs, such as lack of engagement in conversation or minimal physical interaction, avoiding eye contact can provide a clearer picture of how someone truly feels about you. Recognizing these signs can help you better navigate your relationships, allowing you to either address the issue directly or adjust your expectations accordingly. In the end, eye contact is a basic yet profoundly important aspect of human connection, and its absence can speak volumes. For those of us in our later years, where time spent with others becomes more precious, understanding these subtle cues can make all the difference in ensuring that our relationships are authentic, supportive, and emotionally fulfilling. 2. Polite but distant conversations. Politeness is a hallmark of mature communication. By the time we reach our 60s or 70s, most of us have mastered the art of courteous dialogue, even in situations where we may not feel entirely comfortable. However, there's a significant difference between polite conversation and genuine engagement. If someone dislikes you but doesn't want to show it outright, they may maintain a facade of politeness, but their responses may be perfunctory, lacking depth or warmth. For example, if you share a personal anecdote or talk about something meaningful in your life and they respond with a vague, "That's nice," or quickly change the subject, it can indicate that they are not interested in connecting on a deeper level. Similarly, if their responses feel short and clipped, like they are just going through the motions of politeness without investing any emotional energy, it could be a sign of underlying discomfort or dislike. This type of polite but distant behavior can be especially noticeable when compared to how they interact with others. If you observe that the person engages more deeply with other people, asking follow-up questions, sharing personal stories, or offering meaningful advice, but with you, they seem to keep things on a superficial level, it's worth considering that their feelings towards you may not be as friendly as they appear on the surface. Moreover, the tone of the conversation may also be telling. Even when someone is being polite, their tone may carry a certain coldness or disinterest. A friendly tone is warm and open, whereas a distant tone can be formal or curt, signaling that the person is simply fulfilling a social obligation rather than genuinely enjoying the interaction. This kind of interaction can leave you feeling disconnected or as though your presence is merely tolerated rather than welcomed. 3. Minimal physical interaction. Physical touch plays an essential role in how we communicate affection, warmth, and camaraderie. Whether it's a handshake, a hug, or even a simple pat on the back. Physical gestures often serve as a bridge between people, helping to create a sense of connection. As we age, these forms of nonverbal communication can become even more important, as they often replace the words that may not be necessary in close relationships. When someone dislikes you, however, they may avoid these small but significant gestures. If you notice that someone never initiates a handshake, avoids sitting close to you, or maintains an unusual amount of physical distance during conversations, these behaviors may indicate discomfort or avoidance. People who enjoy your company will generally feel comfortable with close proximity, while those who harbor negative feelings may unconsciously create physical barriers. For example, in group settings, they might choose to sit at the opposite end of the table, or position themselves so they are physically farther from you than from others. They might also withdraw from common social gestures such as hugs or pats on the back, and if these interactions do occur, they may feel forced or unnatural. It's also important to consider the quality of physical interaction. If someone does shake your hand, but their grip feels limp or they quickly pull away, it could be a sign that they're engaging out of obligation rather than genuine interest. Similarly, if a hug feels cold or insincere, it may indicate that the person is uncomfortable with the closeness. While some people are naturally less inclined toward physical contact, A noticeable absence of these gestures, particularly if they are otherwise a tactile person, can signal a deeper discomfort with your presence. Over time, this physical distance can translate into emotional distance, leaving you feeling excluded or unwelcome. 4. Lack of engagement in conversation. When someone enjoys your company, they actively participate in conversations, not only sharing their own thoughts and stories, but also showing genuine interest in what you have to say. They ask questions, offer feedback, and contribute to the flow of dialogue in a way that feels natural and reciprocal. In contrast, someone who dislikes you may engage only at the surface level, offering minimal responses and making little effort to keep the conversation going. You might notice that they don't ask follow-up questions or show interest in learning more about your experiences. Instead, their responses may feel terse, as though they are simply waiting for the conversation to end. Over time, this lack of engagement can create a sense of imbalance where you feel like you are doing all the work to maintain the conversation while they remain passive. This lack of interest is especially apparent in one-on-one settings. If someone dislikes you but is hiding it, they might offer polite but non-committal answers, and their body language might reflect disengagement, such as looking around the room, glancing at their watch, or leaning away from you. These subtle signals can indicate that they are mentally checking out of the conversation, even if they are physically present. Another hallmark of disengagement is the absence of shared enthusiasm. If you talk about something exciting or important to you, and the other person responds with indifference or changes the subject, it can feel dismissive. In contrast, when someone likes you, they will often share in your excitement or offer empathetic responses to your concerns. The absence of these emotional cues can leave you feeling unheard or undervalued in the relationship. Additionally, over time, you may notice that the person starts avoiding conversations altogether. They might be physically present at social events, but consistently choose not to engage in meaningful conversations with you, leaving you feeling isolated even in a group setting. This gradual withdrawal can be a sign that they are distancing themselves emotionally, even if they haven't openly expressed their dislike. 5. Subtle exclusion from social activities. As we grow older, maintaining strong social connections becomes increasingly important. Friendships, family gatherings, and community involvement provide us with a sense of purpose and belonging. However, if someone dislikes you but doesn't want to confront the issue directly, they may start subtly excluding you from social activities without ever explicitly saying they don't want you there. You might notice that you are no longer invited to small gatherings or social outings that you used to be part of. Perhaps someone mentions an event that already happened and casually remarks, "Oh, I didn't think you'd be interested," or "We just assumed you were busy." These types of remarks can feel particularly hurtful, as they imply that the decision to exclude you was made without any consideration for your feelings or desires. It's important to note that occasional oversights happen, and not every missed invitation is a sign of ill will. However, if you begin to see a pattern where you are consistently left out of activities, it could be an indication that the person is deliberately distancing themselves from you. In more formal settings, such as family reunions or community events, the exclusion might be more subtle. Perhaps they avoid sitting with you or engaging in conversation, even though you are in the same room. Over time, these small acts of exclusion can build up, leading to feelings of isolation or rejection. Social exclusion, particularly in later life, can be deeply painful. Many of us rely on our social networks not just for entertainment, but also for emotional support and companionship. When someone makes the effort to exclude you, even in subtle ways, it can be a clear indication that they don't value your presence in their life as much as you might have thought. 6. Frequently canceling or postponing plans. Social plans, especially in later life, often take on more significance, whether it's a dinner with friends, a walk in the park, or a casual coffee meeting. These gatherings are opportunities for connection, reflection, and joy. When someone consistently cancels or postpones plans, it can feel like a personal slight. While life's unpredictability can lead to occasional changes, a recurring pattern of cancellations without valid reasons may be a sign of something deeper. When someone dislikes you but is attempting to hide their feelings, they may frequently use postponements or last-minute cancellations as a way to avoid spending time with you. They might offer vague excuses like, "I'm not feeling up to it today," or "something came up," without ever explaining what specifically caused the disruption. Over time, this can create a sense of uncertainty and frustration, leaving you wondering whether they truly value your friendship or are simply looking for ways to avoid being around you. In some cases, they may suggest rescheduling, but then repeatedly fail to follow through, keeping the plans in limbo. This type of behavior can be particularly hurtful, as it creates false hope for future connections that never materialize. The person may never outright refuse your invitations, but their repeated delays and cancellations can serve as a passive way of pushing you away without having to openly confront the situation. This pattern of behavior can be especially noticeable when compared to how they interact with others. If they seem to have no problem keeping commitments with other friends or family members, but consistently cancel plans with you, it may be a subtle signal that they're not as interested in maintaining a relationship with you. Over time, this can create a sense of emotional distance that leaves you feeling isolated or excluded. It's important to recognize that while occasional cancellations are a normal part of life, a consistent pattern may point to deeper underlying feelings. This can be difficult to address directly, particularly if the person is polite and friendly in other interactions. But acknowledging the emotional toll it takes on you is crucial. Recognizing these subtle acts of avoidance can help you make decisions about where to invest your time and emotional energy. 7. Lack of emotional support. In the later stages of life, emotional support becomes increasingly important, whether we're facing health challenges, grieving losses, or simply navigating the ups and downs of daily life. Having a strong support network can make all the difference. Close friends and loved ones are often the first people we turn to for comfort, advice, and reassurance. However, when someone dislikes you, they may withhold this emotional support, even if they continue to maintain polite or casual interactions with you. You may notice that when you share something personal, whether it's a struggle, a success, or a worry, their response is either minimal or absent altogether. They might offer a brief, "That's tough," or simply change the subject instead of offering the empathy or encouragement you need. This lack of engagement can feel particularly hurtful if you have previously provided emotional support to them in similar situations. For instance, if you confide in someone about a difficult health diagnosis or the loss of a loved one and their reaction is distant or dismissive, it may be a sign that they're not invested in the emotional aspects of your relationship. Genuine friends will listen, offer comfort, and make you feel heard, even if they don't have all the answers. When someone fails to provide that support, it can feel as though they are emotionally distancing themselves from you, even if they continue to interact with you in other ways. This lack of emotional support can also manifest in their reluctance to celebrate your successes or share in your happiness. If you achieve something meaningful, such as a personal milestone, and they respond with indifference or fail to acknowledge it altogether, it may be a sign that they're not truly invested in your well-being. Over time, this emotional disconnection can erode the foundation of the relationship, leaving you feeling unsupported and undervalued. Recognizing when someone is withholding emotional support is crucial, especially in relationships that you once considered close or meaningful. Emotional neglect, even in subtle forms, can have a profound impact on your sense of self-worth and overall happiness. While it's not always possible to confront the person directly about their behavior, acknowledging the emotional distance can help you set boundaries and protect your emotional health moving forward. 8. Negative body language.
Body language is often described as a silent language, one that speaks volumes about a person's true feelings, even when their words may suggest otherwise. As we age, we often become more attuned to these nonverbal cues, recognizing the subtle shifts in posture, facial expressions, and gestures that reveal what someone might be thinking or feeling. When someone dislikes you but is attempting to hide it, their body language may give them away. Negative body language can include a variety of behaviors, such as crossing their arms, which can indicate defensiveness or discomfort, turning their body away from you during conversations, or consistently maintaining physical distance. These actions, while seemingly small, can signal that the person is not comfortable with your presence or is actively trying to create a barrier between you. For example, if you approach someone in a social setting and they immediately step back or angle their body away from you, it can create a physical and emotional distance that feels noticeable. Similarly, they might avoid facing you directly during conversations, instead turning their head or body slightly away, which can make it feel as though they're disengaged or uninterested in what you have to say. Other signs of negative body language might include fidgeting, avoiding any form of physical touch such as a handshake or hug, or giving short, sharp nods instead of genuine engagement. When you notice these behaviors consistently over time, particularly in one-on-one settings, it can indicate that the person is uncomfortable or even resentful, despite their outward politeness. Facial expressions can also provide important clues. A forced smile, a tight jaw, or a lack of eye contact can all suggest that someone is not as warm or friendly as they may want you to believe. While it's easy to dismiss these signs as unimportant or coincidental, when they occur repeatedly in your interactions with someone, they can provide valuable insight into their true feelings. It's important to note that body language can sometimes be misread. Some people are naturally more reserved or introverted, and their behavior may not necessarily reflect dislike. However, when negative body language is combined with other signs, such as avoidance or lack of engagement, it can paint a clearer picture of the person's emotional state. Paying attention to these nonverbal cues can help you better understand the dynamics of your relationships and decide how to proceed.
9. Subtle sarcasm or passive-aggressive comments. Sarcasm and passive-aggressive behavior are often used as indirect ways to express negative feelings without openly confronting the issue. For some, these behaviors serve as a shield, allowing them to voice their frustrations or displeasure while maintaining a veneer of politeness. When someone dislikes you but doesn't want to show it openly, they may resort to these types of indirect communication to express their discomfort or hostility. You might notice that the person frequently makes sarcastic remarks about your actions, preferences, or personality, often disguising them as jokes. For example, they might say something like, "Oh, you're always late. What a surprise," with a tone that suggests irritation rather than humor. While sarcasm can sometimes be playful, if it's used repeatedly in interactions with you, it may signal underlying resentment or frustration. Passive-aggressive comments can be more subtle but equally hurtful. These remarks often carry an undertone of criticism or negativity, but are delivered in a way that makes it difficult to call out directly. For instance, the person might say, "Well, I guess some people don't mind being left out," after not being invited to an event, even though they never expressed a desire to attend. These types of comments can leave you feeling confused or guilty, as they are designed to provoke an emotional response without explicitly addressing the issue at hand. Recognizing sarcasm and passive-aggressive behavior can be challenging, especially if the person uses humor to deflect from the seriousness of their remarks. However, over time, these behaviors can create a toxic dynamic where you feel as though you are constantly walking on eggshells, unsure of whether the person is genuinely joking or expressing hidden hostility. In some cases, the person may use these comments to undermine your confidence or belittle your achievements. For example, They might downplay your accomplishments by saying something like, well, I guess anyone could do that if they had enough time on their hands, implying that your success is not meaningful or hard earned. These types of remarks can erode your self-esteem and make you question whether the relationship is worth maintaining. While sarcasm and passive-aggressive comments may not seem as overtly harmful as direct confrontation, they can have a lasting impact on your emotional well-being. Recognizing these behaviors for what they are, a form of indirect hostility, can help you better understand the person's true feelings and decide how to address the issue. Whether you choose to confront the behavior directly or distance yourself from the relationship, it's important to protect your emotional health and set boundaries that promote positive, supportive interactions. Conclusion. In later life, relationships often take on new meaning. With decades of experience, we come to value our time and energy more than ever, and our tolerance for inauthentic or strained relationships may diminish. Recognizing the subtle signs that someone dislikes you but is hiding it allows you to take control of your social interactions and make choices that protect your well-being. The signs outlined in this article, such as avoiding eye contact, engaging in polite but distant conversations, and withholding emotional support, are not definitive proof of dislike on their own. However, when several of these behaviors appear together, they can offer valuable insight into the dynamics of your relationship. At this stage in life, it's essential to surround yourself with people who bring joy, comfort, and positivity into your world. Relationships that leave you feeling unsupported, unvalued, or uncomfortable may not be worth the emotional investment. By recognizing the signs of hidden dislike, you can make informed decisions about which relationships to nurture and which to let go of, ultimately creating a more fulfilling and harmonious social circle. Thank you for watching the entire video. If you find these stories inspiring and motivating, please comment 1. If not, comment 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.